3 million of them, and the rest will be eating out of our hands. Those were the very words spoken by the dictator Tika Khan before the liberation war of East Pakistan that finally freed the country in 1971. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lulu. In the next 8 to 10 minutes, I'm going to give you an informative speech about the birth of Bangladesh. At first, an outline of the oncoming speech. I'm going to tell you the purpose of my speech and then the historical importance of this incident, and then I'm going to move on to the body. In the body, I will discuss the differences that existed between the East and West Pakistan. Then the massacre of civilians at midnight, then the target of their annihilation, and the cost of victory. Finally, I will move on to the conclusion. These were the very quotes taken from the United Nations Declaration of Universal Human Rights in 1981. Among the genocides of human history, the highest number of people killed in lower span of time is in Bangladesh in 1971. Although many people are not aware of the historical background, the British left the Indian subcontinent in 1947, and before they left, they divided the subcontinent into three parts: India, West Pakistan in the west, and East Pakistan in the east. It was the first time in the history of any nation that two countries had another country right in between them. And never have two countries been so different than East and West Pakistan. The basic differences between the two regions were numerous. Some of the marked differences were language. West Pakistanis were maximum Urdu speaking, and they were the minority population-wise. East Pakistanis were, however, Bengali or Bangla speaking, and they were the majority. But West Pakistanis always oppressed East Pakistanis, especially when it came to language, because they wanted the majority to convert and speak in their own language, which was Urdu. And the culture. There was a huge cultural gap between the two nations. First of all, West Pakistanis were more fundamental or rigid in their outlooks. They followed the Sharia, the Islamic code of conduct, whereas East Pakistan were more liberated, more liberal. Their women got education, they wore saris, and they did not follow the Sharia as strictly as the West Pakistanis did. This was a great concern for the West Pakistanis because they always thought that the East Pakistanis were blaspheming against Islam, that the East Pakistanis were too liberal, and they were becoming too immoral. And of course, the religious extremities of the West Pakistanis developed into a hatred towards the East. Then came the night of the massacre. In March 25th, 1971, several thousand military men, armed military men, were flown in the middle of the night in East Pakistan. And while the city of Dhaka, which is now the capital of Bangladesh, slept, they massacred 7,000 civilians in the middle of the night in less than 4 hours. In the week that followed, there was a martial law and there was an emergency all over Dhaka, and the Pakistani military men massacred over 35,000 civilians all over Dhaka. This statistics was according to author Payne. He wrote it in his book Massacre. These are some of the very disturbing pictures. I got these from the Google website. As you can see, the first picture is Pakistani military men over there checking a civilian for circumcision. The situation was like this. The people they targeted most were first Bengali military men of the regiments. Secondly, the Hindus. Being minority and non-Muslim, Hindus were regularly subjected to their humiliation and brutal killings. You can see this military man is checking the gentleman for circumcision. If he is circumcised, that would mean he's a Muslim, and he would be taken separately and questioned to see for his alliance with freedom movement fighters or other intellectuals. But if he is not circumcised, that would mean he is a Hindu, in which case he would be shot immediately on the spot. This is the picture of one of the West Pakistanis' killing grounds that was discovered by British journalists around 1972 and early 1973. As you can see, these are bones and these are skulls that were dug up from the killing fields. They would massacre several thousand people every day just for the name of Islam and just for the name of righteousness. Although the people they massacred were various genres of Muslims as well as Hindus. Other targets of their massacre were the army leaguers, who were the political leaders fighting for freedom, and of course the intellectuals like professors, teachers. They were considered a threat and too militant by the West Pakistani. And you can read more about this in the book of The Rape of Bangladesh, written by Anthony Mascarenhas. Finally, on the 26th of March 1971, Bangladesh declared independence and said that we are an independent nation now. And it was at war with West Pakistan, which was considered a civil war. The war lasted for 267 days, according to Genocide Bangladesh, and the official number of deaths was 1,247,000. And according to the US Library of Congress, the number of displaced people who were on refugee status, and some of them are still in refugee status, are between 8 to 10 million. As you can see, these are pictures that were taken after they discovered the killing grounds. All of them were civilians. Finally, I have told you about the birth of Bangladesh, the genocide that took place, which is considered one of the worst and messiest in the history of warfare. I have given you the historical significance, and thus I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you very much for your patience and your time.